Welcome to today's fitting here with long-term friend of Precision Golf, Sarah Bennett, past PGA captain, recent past PGA captain, and I think my first caddying job years back at the Roehampton Gold Cup. So Sarah and I have known each other 24
yeah,
years.
quite a few years.
And so used to play, had a period without playing, coaching, PGA captain, busy,
Yep.
and now looking to play a little bit more again.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? We sort of enter the career as players, and suddenly you put everything into coaching, and I suddenly think, you know what, there's life in the old girl. Yeah, I love the game. I love the game, and I think I need a motivator to get out there. And I think you tapped me on the shoulder in Orlando a few months back now, and I thought, right, come on, this is it. I'm not as young and fit as I used to be, so I do need some help.
More experienced.
More experienced, absolutely right. I've got that, and just as competitive. Trust me, just as competitive. So yeah, and here I am. Look at your facility. Let's get these.
So let's get cracking. So I've taken a bit of. We're going to focus on irons in this one, and there's we're going to do woods in a different session. But so, been with Ping a while?
You know what? They've been supportive for me since I turned pro, so they've been an amazing company.
And particularly good with ladies golf over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I'm just got to make sure that I've got the right product here, and as I'm not quite as fit as I used to be, so any help is going to be
So I've taken
advantage.
Some of the base specs. So that gives me, whilst you're having a bit of a loosen up, I was noting down all the specs. So it gives me a bit of an indication on what the components are and how they're set up. And what that means even before you swing it, what it means in terms of sort of functionally what they suit. So I mean, I210s, great set of heads. Nice little bit of tech in the face, a little bit of progression, but just consistency from them. Such a consistent head. But with the recoil shafts on the sort of dead weight, a little bit on the lighter side, but they're relatively light balance in the head. Not necessarily wrong, but as a comment on it, they're a vertical standard, men's standard, obviously you're tall, so longer than a lady standard would be, but normally we'd see head weight and swing weight go up a little bit, but they're still fairly light at C6, C6.5.
I think that's been the thing for me. I've been a bit of a, obviously on the tour days, obviously I had the club head speed and the strength to work it, but now I'm kind of wanting the length, but I also like the feel in the head, but also I want to get that slightly lighter shaft. So.
Got it. And recoils are a great shaft. They tend to hit a little bit of a higher flight. Nice sort of neutral balance profile through. So otherwise, loft and lie's pretty neutral, pretty standard. So there's nothing really stand out. And the one thing with Ping, as we can see from that chart, I don't know whether James has got that on screen or not, but very consistent for the tolerance on swing weight through the set. So really nice progression there. And then wedge-wise, you've got the glide forwards. Now we have to show people this because there aren't many people that can have this in their bag and it be relevant and not a lie. So, a little bit closer. Yeah. So, yes, good. There's some good showboating there.
Absolutely. It is. It is. I'm putting the pressure on myself, but it was the best part of my game.
Well, I'm only saying actually before when I was caddying, I think the thing I took away from watching you play was how good from that. If you were on the stretch of getting to a long par 4, par 5 and 2, you were so good from that 70, 80, 90 yard region, more often than not up and down. And that was, I remember to this day thinking, my God, how did she do that?
I think I would have been a grumpy bear if I hadn't have got up and down then, but now it's very justified to get in that 10 feet zone. But
and so wedge-wise, obviously that one, more of a kind of a standard setup, it's a heavier steel shaft, so you got to 115 grams. So see, that one's out of kilter with the rest of the set from a shaft weight point of view, and back down to some 70, 75 gram graphite in the cleaving wedge in the 54. So that will be something when we get to that bit of the bag, making sure that the continuity, the consistency is there. That's going to be a major key. But really, give me a case of let's get a few swings. We'll use it because we'll test with the 6 when we get through. I'll switch you out to a 6 iron once we do that. So 6 to switch because all the test heads are 6s. Dusted off.
6. I'm not sure if I can hit a 6 these days, Simon. It used to be a 2 iron, but you know what? I don't know about now. Goodness me.
Generally, from a kind of shot shape, flight point of view, do you look to see a particular shot shape? Are you playing for a particular shot pattern?
No, I don't play for a particular shot. I mean, it's generally it's been a bit of a draw, but I'm fairly neutral with the path generally. So I get my weight through, and then it goes a bit haywire. But anyway.
Still got it.
Well,
Never goes.
It's just about 20 yards shorter, but hey ho.
I was just switching it back to yards. I was just on meters, so that's why I didn't record that one. In terms of generally, I mean, it's had such a nice even tempo through the swing. Again, I remember caddying is an easy job. It's just what's the distance right? It's that club, lovely. Is that something, with you focus on getting back into playing and a couple more comps this year? Is that something you looking to work on a bit of speed? Are you looking to, if you get?
Yeah, I mean, I've lost a lot of distance. I've lost a huge amount of club head speed. For a number of reasons. So that's something that I feel I'm able to increase that.
Yeah.
And obviously sharpen up the actual technical aspect, but also just doing some gym work. Really, I just lost speed. The consistency is generally there, but it's just the speed, really. Yeah.
Okay, let's do one more. Be great. Put this on a bit of a summary page for you. So it's a very, very consistent, stable, neutral action. Good. So there's nothing untoward going on there. Actually, I guess certainly with them being not head heavy, you can get that club that's not getting stuck. You're not having to force it. It's whether it's not launch angles upper mid, but not the spins. Sort of pretty neutral in that, so it's sort of upper mid launch, lower mid spin. You kind of pick it off a little bit more rather than taking heavy divots.
Injury. 4 years of torn ligaments. I just completely changed my game. Just had to be a sweeper of the ball. It's just crazy, and I've never been able to get it back.
It's not necessarily a bad. I think it's one of those things where as long as you've got that little bit of shaft lean, that sort of compression everyone talks about. Actually, you're still getting good efficiency. That smash number. 142, 43, that's still really efficient. And so yes, the ball launches a little higher, you get a little bit less spin, but the two for those shots actually fairly closely level out. Maybe spins a hair on the lower side, that last one, just a little bit, but it's not an alarmingly low. And what it does generally mean is in that transition of irons into woods, it will drop spin off a little bit more the shallower you get there, and it may just be that it's at what point does the hybrid kick in to give you that flight or more wood-like club. But general data-wise, with a club path, very neutral, pretty good average 0.0. And I think this is really going to be a case of looking at if we push weight up a little bit, if we challenge that, or does that hurt, or does that allow you to use the weight to develop the speed a bit more? Can we augment a little bit of ball speed? Or actually looking at this day, there's not smash factor wise, there's not an awful lot to go on that. It's can we increase the club speed because the ball speed efficiency is already there. So certainly, as I said, of irons, they this bit it's certainly working. They're not working badly at all.
No.
So it's how much can we gain without compromising
losing.
So, and that spin's going to be the one. That spin's going to be the area where you can't afford that to let that drop anymore. Otherwise, you just lose the control.
Right.
So if we can get that that last 103 ball speed, if we can start to get that and creep a little bit more on, then great, but not at the cost of the control. So, but all in all, certainly not a bad set of irons for you, that's for sure.
I'm glad they went forward. I haven't hit a ball for about. I can tell you now from since September.
Oh, really? You see, class is permanent.
Well, I don't know. I was been more nervous sitting in there than I was the first tee at the Open.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the current version of those. If you want to keep it in a couple of balls, feel free. But I'm going to get the I'll get the I230s because it's the current version of that, so the most relevant head to kind of look at shaft options without using the head to change performance first.
Okay.
Once we get the shaft bit right, then we'll look at the head side of things.
You realise how much you enjoy it when you come here and hit balls.
That's ultimately the thing, isn't it? It's, you know, we're all horribly competitive and want to win, but you've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy being out there, and you know, it's once you stop enjoying it, then you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, but you know what? I think, you know, we all have injuries and things, and things hit hard, and at the end of the day, you know, just to get out and play is a bonus.
Yeah,
is a bonus.
It's not a bad space to spend a few hours, is it? So a rather busy couple of years for you then.
I must say this year is actually panning out even busier because obviously I'm fitting stuff in that I couldn't do. So it's like, but that's fine, you know. I love what I do, and I don't think anything's. I never think, oh, I've got to go here, or wish I wasn't doing that, or something. You know, it's all.
And what would you say highlight of the captaincy period?
I mean, it has to be really as the PGA captain standing up there addressing, you know, 600 new intakes, graduates, you know. I think the thing for me was watching their faces change, their reaction. I can remember standing in the wings when your name's called out and you're like really nervous and you walk on. And they walk on, suddenly, a big smile, I said, well done. They just like suddenly think, oh my goodness, I've done it, grinning from ear to ear. And it actually really helped me massively for all the other roles that I had to do within the year. I didn't have time to think about the enormity of it. It was like a snowball effect. I just kept going from one to the other. Then over Christmas I thought, oh my goodness, I don't think I could ever stand up in front of 600 people again, but I've done it and that's it.
Yeah.
So.
It's a wonderful,
graduates,
achievement.
Yeah.
What an honour. So going to have a little play around the shaft weights
and
see, as we change that, does that help or hinder timing in particular? So keeping the swing weight very similar, but just looking at shaft weight. So there is a point where you can drop too light and actually not be able to use the weight to develop speed. Okay, so with that one, here just grounding out.
I caught that heavy, I caught that heavy.
So just losing it on the way down a little bit. So I'm going to change it up a little. So if we go too light, what happens is as you start to build the speed, the momentum in your swing overpowers the inertia in the head, and it can.
And you felt that was too.
Just lose the bottom end.
Too light.
Almost get into impact too soon.
Yeah, wait after I've been to CrossFit.
I need a new set of clubs then. Push weight up a little. So these ones are around the 70 gram mark. Push wear has dropped down to 60 there.
Okay.
So just need to build that up a little bit. Is that going to be the route forward? You're going to be lifting weights above your head and
I'm looking at world champion, weightlifting champ. No, I'm only joking. No, I've got some. I'm excited this year. I'm actually going to be playing in the seniors PGA national event. How about that? Yeah.
Where's that this year?
Well, actually, that's ironically it's in Essex. It's Romford and West Essex. So it's a big field. I mean, which is fantastic to see because. You know, we're always saying the association that for the younger players or the ones that want to sort of develop onto the tours. But, you know, for us, I want to be able to play in a tournament where I feel I've got a bit of a chance. I've got no chance up against these youngsters.
That's the thing now, but you know, whatever standard or age group level it is, it's so different now even to when I started to play.
Yeah.
You know, it's now every youngster coming through can really send the ball. You know,
It's scary, isn't it? It's a different, I mean, it really is. You think, well, maybe we did used to hit it that far, I don't know, but
I think
with the old...
The nature of the I guess everything surrounding the game, isn't it? The equipment, the sports science, the biomechanics work, the transponder tech, everything's helps to optimise things now. Okay. So just pushing weight back up a few grams straight away, you can see the club drop into plane better, ball speed's got back up. So.
Yeah, I didn't have that same sort of like the sort of losing it on the downswing there.
So it's going to be a little bit looking at where within the shaft the weight goes, because this one it's a little bit more down the tip end.
Okay.
And so the first one back with it, you can see right there's some weight to use in transition. The club drops down to the plane better, but I think we're seeing like just a part of the face just hanging a little bit open.
Yeah, I saw that actually. That was
and then I'll change that up again.
Saw that one a little bit.
Yeah, maybe just so you've reacted to that and got it back there, but maybe just having to work it a little bit more than I'd like.
A little bit hard work, that one.
Just a little bit. So right, let's even that up. Actually, it's as valuable seeing what doesn't work as what does.
Yeah, no,
you can start to
absolutely.
put the pattern together of why particular shafts swing well, why they don't. So going to be a few comps this year, or
yeah, no. Obviously, you've got the seniors, which kicks off in May, and then entering a few of the WPGA events, and then obviously the championship at Kettlestone, and then what else? Yeah, I've got the mixed one, which is exciting. So it's always a good event, that one. Second year, so something I wanted to. One of my goals when I got captaincy was just to, you know, get us integrating. I don't get the chance to spend time with my fellow pros. So. Oopsie.
seeing sort of change the weights around, which ones. So straight away, not going head heavy, it's squared up very easily. Push the weight up a little bit more on this. So. Yeah, so you see, worked a bit harder on that swing and then got the reward through having to, because it's a few grams heavier again, you've responded and worked hard to get the club back out in front of you, and then the ball speed picked up a little bit more. It's whether, I think it's finding that balance of how hard you want to work with the swing versus what feels like you can improve with it.
Yeah, I get you, yeah. Oops.
Okay, that's kind of at the top
That was
end.
not one to hit in the winter. Tingly hands.
I had one of those on Sunday. That was cold out there on Sunday.
Tingly hands.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's. I think that's so interesting. I'll do one other and then we'll go back to yours. That's at the top. I can see from a waiting point of view, that's at the top end where you're rewarded for getting it right, but it's just forcing you maybe to have to work a little harder than we'd like. So let's bring that back down a fraction. The multi-compound one's the bottom end because of the material. It can blow up like a balloon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God.
Somewhat interesting.
Oh, thank you. Okay, this is a new little one.
So, same head, just a very slightly lighter shaft than the last one.
Slightly lighter.
Very slightly.
actually felt quite nice. I don't know.
Contact.
Don't know what the figures were, but try and put a bit more weight on there. See how that works.
Yeah, it definitely moves that a little bit better than the last few. We'll be interested. See one more of that, and then I'll give you that your existing one back. Because certainly it's relative to where this is. It's very much, very very small difference. Okay, yeah, certainly more consistent than the other options. So
yeah, that probably feels the best one so far in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, from a dispersion pattern point of view, you can see the grouping of that one is notably better.
That was
than
which
any
one
of
was
the
that?
other
The
options.
blue. Okay.
So the darker blue of those. So the general grouping, just a little bit less of a dispersion pattern. Haven't got that. So
Yeah, my shocker shot is right, obviously with hang back here. It just drives me mad. It's just shocking to go high, short, push light. I'll get rid of that.
So interesting comparison back to this.
Okay. Oops, that was a bit thin. Sunday morning one.
Very very square though. So
Was it?
It's interesting to see. I'm just going to get the dead weight of both these just to see where exactly they sit. Because actually, in terms of, if we're looking at overall performance, I'll take that as a slightly funky one there, sort of sugarcoat thing. But if we were to look at averages between the two of them, as you can see, there's all but half a yard between them. So certainly from a raw distance point of view, I think because of the construction of the head being very, very slightly different, it's a hair higher launch, a hair lower spin. That's really going to be where with the knotted up with the 230, just a little bit of an updated usage of the face.
Right.
I'll hold it so that you can see it as well. So this is the 230 here is the younger sibling to this one. So 210, I200 before, really great irons for consistency. Bit of perimeter weighting there. That's the back's filled in, but it's the same kind of principles. But really with the 230, just push the face tech a little bit further. So trying to get a little bit more speed, but not with this head, not at the compromise of control. So hence, slightly more weight in the sole, a little bit more tungsten weight in the toe there, fractionally higher launch. But as you drop the centre of gravity, you lose 100, 150 revs of spin as well. So to all intents and purposes, essentially you've got a slightly different way of skinning the same cat.
Yeah. Okay.
Where from a dead weight point of view, total weight, the year one 373 plays 371.5. So there's 1.5 grams difference between them. So basically what we've routed round to is that club, but just in a different format.
Right.
So, and what was actually really interesting in terms of looking at the different options we hit was that when we went lighter, you lost the club, and as you started to put the pace on halfway down, lost the bottom end and stuck it in the turf behind. Now you'd work.
I felt that shaft was straight away first shot. It wasn't right.
Just not enough to drive against, and physically what happens is a bit like turning that around. You end up kind of just losing the club at the halfway down and stick it in the turf. So all you'd have to do is back out of it. Then the second option, slightly lighter than these, but a bit more weight in the tip, and then face hung a little bit more open. So contact was fine, but the bottom end got a little late on you.
I don't want that.
And then that just involves bringing the hands.
And
back
then I
in
can
to
flip
square it.
So I've got that two-way miss, which is
joyous.
On those tight courses, I don't want that, especially Romford's tight.
Yeah, and then the slightly heavier one, squared up a bit more, but this is the green line there.
Yeah.
But just lost a little bit of time, a little bit of quality of strike, and then back into when we put this one together. So the Acra, the 70i shaft, just drew a couple of grams off the KBS TGI 70, got better contact, but essentially brought us right back to where you are with that one.
With that one,
so,
yeah.
It'll be. I'll put a slightly different head on, just so we can
Just
kind of
to
display
see,
the differences in. If we go for a head that's going to produce a little bit more kick naturally. But what it does show is that you're controlling your current clubs really well. There's a good overall performance. I'm going to deselect a couple of these just so we can. Actually, James can show the overall dispersion on those with the three darker blue dots being the I230 with the Acra shaft.
Yeah.
The orange, Sarah's original club. So there's one that was a little bit shorter, but then there is that one that's out a little bit longer as well. But generally speaking, bar one to the right, grouping on the solid hit's very, very good. And then the rest is a little bit more of a general spread, considering there are less shots hit. So with the heavier one, the green, that miss strike is much, much shorter.
I mean, my strength on tour, obviously apart from short game, was sort of my distance control. With whatever yardage I have, I can create that swing to fulfil that distance. I want to be able to still have that in the bag.
Yeah,
I've got to have something good left in the bag.
And what's key there, you're so neutral through the ball. It's what I'd always do, if people heard me say before, like a very quiet line through the ball. You put it on a very neutral line. There's no kind of, excuse the pun with the neck, there's no flashing at the ball through the bottom. So your ability to control distance, because it's a very calm impact position, but it's not inefficient either. So what you probably find is that distance will start to come back the more you play. Just your golf muscles are going to get stronger again.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Confidence. For every mile an hour club speed you pick up, you're going to pick up a few yards. So that to me, looking at how stable through the ball it is, that's where I think we risk losing maybe too much from the control aspect. So we'll see from something with a couple of other heads whether we can gain a bit of ball speed without compromising flight. But I think the key thing is the balance not being overly head heavy. So whilst on face value the swing weight looking lightish, actually that works for you really well, because it means the club head you're not having to battle the club head weight to square it up. So keeping the head weight nice and light, but getting that speed. Can we gain enough without losing anything? I think it's going to be quite tough, I'm honest.
I told you it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a test for you. I saw I was a problem child.
Oh, no, this is far from being problematic. So components, the i210's only one series old. It's not like it's a Ping i2 or something like that. It's a head where Matt Fitzpatrick stayed with the i200s for goodness knows how many years. A lot of the top guys and girls on tour, the i210s, construction-wise, are a great head. So it's not like we're starting from, when we came back through, golfers who came back through lockdown came back with Titleist DCI Blacks from 1995. Okay, if you can't improve that, then there's something wrong, but the components are really strong. So the good side is it's not going to be a struggle for you to find a swing to make them work. They swing really well. It's, can we squeeze any more without hurting another aspect? So I'll get one of the Ping heads to see, because we can control weight with those really easily. What we're seeing here is what I see with my driver over the last few years. I've got an M4.
Oh, have you?
And it goes really well. Played Sunday, went really well.
You hit it. You hit it country mile. I remember when we played, you were just pounding it past me, and I was like...
Relatively speaking, sadly not anymore. I'm decidedly average.
You were a little bit,
Oh yeah, it's exciting.
Red arrows.
Exciting,
absolutely. Just use it all, that's what I say. Absolutely. Get valued for money.
See, where I grew up playing, if you were going to miss it big because you're on another fairway.
Absolutely, and there's a particular hole where there's a tree, you were in perfect position, lob it over back.
just make sure loft and lie are comparable. So not cheating distance. Yes, it's half a degree, so it's making an allowance for that. So going to the I-525, so focused on a little bit more on the club face for ball speed.
Yep.
Great. It's a very different sound. So you're going to feel a little harder off the face.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, oh, almost hit it as far as a rocket. Caught that a little.
The head weight slightly.
Caught that a little heavy.
It's a little bit light. I'm just going to give you a bit more club head there. I mean, what we can see from that first shot is that whilst it wasn't as well struck as you can,
yeah,
but still that efficiency, still the 143, but spin rate down,
yeah,
about 500 revs. So we'll see as I get the swing weight dialed in and get it timing as well as the I-230 was. And just see whether that's something that maintains, because that would be, sort of 15% is about 600 revs of spin. That's a significant loss in spin.
yeah. Quite get that, but it's okay. Yeah, it's a really different feel and sound, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so part of that note that you're talking about, the sound there, is being a completely enclosed head. It's a hollow head.
Yeah.
The sound reverberates around inside a little bit, so they tune it because they want it to feel fast off the face. So some of that hardness is to make it sound quick, whereas on the I-230 they've got a coating on the back of the face to dull that sound down, make it feel a bit softer. That one's actually it's not really giving anything extra. I'm going to go to the G430.
I like it when we say it's not performing, it's the club, and it's not me. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's always
Absolutely,
the club.
absolutely.
The delivery pattern where yours is, it has to be the club. So let's just see going a little bit more tech again. So, I mean, one of the key things for you with ping is that ability to control head weight's really critical.
Yeah.
Because we can't afford to go too heavy. And in ping, the frame weight's nice and light. They have tungsten ports in the hosel. They've got and they build them with the screw and the toe. So visible. So the 430, the 525, the I-230, they've all got that screw, which allows them to tune weight. So it goes from a couple of grams up to 12, 13 grams. So there's a lot of balancing one can do with the head to make it work.
Yeah.
So, but because the frame weight starts light, you can control the balance rather than firefighting it.
Okay. Must admit, I've never ever tried any other heads in my years of playing. That's.
It's going to get this out in the workshop. It's a little tighter than I was
It's
hoping.
been stuck in there.
I guess this just backs up what we were talking about. So you've got the weight that comes out and the toe weight there. So the little blue stuff is a bit we call grip lock. So that grips the thread and gets it to hold in there.
It's better on that one I hit the other way.
Yeah.
Just so.
Yeah, and it's a very. I think one of the things that we can see with your current is a very, very, and this is part of the 210s as their design, why they're so good. It's a very, very consistent spin level. So it's not. It's only got a couple of hundred revolutions up and down from from a spin point of view. So that makes it very reliable. You know what you're going to get out of it, swing to swing. Which, and so when you've got a pin at the back of green, you want to know it's going to land a particular way. That's very, very key. So
I've always launched it pretty high anyway. It's not been a problem with it.
That's about the most tasteful doorbell ring we could find.
I was going to say, I thought that was the
Train
burger
station.
van. I thought that was lunch. Everyone runs out to the burger van, don't they?
Yeah, nice cream van where we used to be. You can tell you're
You
getting
need that
near a
mobile
time
pizza,
when that
that
comes
mobile
round.
pizza one.
So I'll leave this a hair stronger off. It's only up to a degree, but so as a head 430 is designed to kick it up a little bit more. But again, for maximising ball speed, but we'll see whether it does what we need it to do.
That wasn't the bestest swing, that one. Ooh.
Again, spin a little.
Feels a bit hard work, that one. I'm not sure whether it's... Let's hit one more. That's gone right.
Okay, again, so and you do see this one head a little bit, the weight's a little bit more spread away from the centre, a little bit more weight in the sole. Actually, kind of strike patterns actually suffered a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It can be hard sometimes to dial in the strike when you move the weight away from the centre. You know, you're used to playing a more traditional style of head, and you're getting that feedback. We do see players of not necessarily kind of lower handicap or better pro players, but actually across the board, if you're a little more feel oriented, actually, if you don't get as much feedback from the head, the strike can kind of dissipate a little bit as well. So
I didn't really feel anything on that one. It was just...
yeah, and so that's where it's got much bigger cavity, more weight out on the toe side, more down the bottom, so taking weight away from that centre point. So you lose that can lose that bit of mass behind the ball strike-wise, and therefore that directness of feedback. So we'll go back to that. So this is back to Sarah's original plug. I honestly think, in terms of looking at where the original data, and as we've gone back to it previously as well, the overall performance relative to what in theory might be doable from a ball speed point of view, would actually risk hurting the consistency of striking. They clearly swing really well.
Oh, it's a little thin.
A little bit off on the strike, but it's a pretty commercial one, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That was well put. Commercial. Oh dear. Sorry, I can chip and putt from there.
Swing. Yeah, and I think what we can see with this is if there was going to be anything that was going to noticeably have a notable jump on in terms of performance, each time we went back to this, what's clear with this is the strike and the time and the control straight away is there. Now, if something else was swinging better or working better, you go back to it, wouldn't feel quite as good. But the fact that you go back to it, and every time it's, to that one from a contact point of view, you can hear there's a bit more depth to the strike. It's a solid hits there. You're at, there's a 5-yard top to bottom distance on the carry. So it's a very, very repeating contact and flight and result. So, and actually just works well for you. You can see that by so first time back with it, back straight away there down the line. Slight miss, it's 5 or 6 yards shorter, but it's absolutely on the line.
Yeah.
So any of the other setups, we're seeing a little bit more of a drop out to the right.
I could feel that when coming into him, but I could feel that was more of a, there was more chance of me hitting that right if I didn't quite swing it effectively. It was, so for me, this is...
And I think looking at this, as I say, there's more potential to disrupt than improve based on what we're seeing now. I'm going to have a look at the lie with that, but you know, they work well. You know, the balance of flight's in a good place.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is the club speed goes up a little bit, the spin's going to go up a little bit, so you'll pick up carry and then control as well. Just, you know, a little bit more friction. You'll find like that one, the angle attack's just slightly steeper, 2 degrees down where you were about 1 degree down earlier on. So that's then picked a little bit of spin up as well. So yeah, I think really it's more than the more you play, the more the shot value is going to increase.
Exactly.
But it's going to increase in a controlled way, purely through ball speed going up, rather than lassoing a load of distance with no spin. And anyway, even the heads, which in theory should have done that, you could see possibly a mile an hour or two, but not enough to warrant.
But I think that,
the
you know,
control
that
that
at
we've
the end of the day, that's me. As you say, I haven't played for ages, so I mean, it's you know, the more you can do that, and I can start to time it and work on.
Yeah, and it's nice in there. It's just a bit of speed. Now it might be that as you play more and the swing speed comes back, and you know you get more confident with it. Then it might be that a very slight change in the swing weight as you start to put a little bit into it. You might need just a little bit more to hit against the bottom end, but that's all it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think it's you know the shaft weight allows you to move really naturally, allows you to stay really balanced. So the control of the head's there. So I think it's not a case of trying to make sure we don't try and force something out.
Yeah. That was a bit thin, but.
I'll just have a little look. It's just left me.
Yeah,
so,
I know. I could feel that right out.
So lie-wise, good. I'll do
Can't
one
see
more just to double check. But lie, we'll do one more showing the camera that's slightly on the heel side. But basically, the line was absolutely ramrod square.
Show the camera like I nearly shanked it.
I wasn't going to say that.
That's all right. I don't mind. So you'd rather be honest.
The fact that you can say the word means it doesn't happen very often.
Oh no, absolutely.
Again, the lie looked absolutely spot on.
Do this one properly, right? On the flag.
A bit more ball speed on that one as well. So, yeah, there's a faint line, I can see it. It's square up, again, square up the face. So I'll
show the camera
make it less visible because of where that line was. I'll try and hold the angle right, but see the line there, it's just dead square up the middle of the face. So that's really what we're looking for. I don't know how visible that one was, but yeah, so essentially, yeah, I understood that really well.
Perfect.
There isn't anything that I'd look to change that's going to make, it's not going to put 5 or 6 yards on without compromising something else. So, and that's actually one of the things from a fitting point of view. If someone's got clubs that work, that's absolutely fine, because you know, that's really what we're trying to find out is are they working well, or is there a step change to be made? You know, the worst thing you can do is change something for the sake of it.
You're absolutely right.
You know, you've got developed a bit of feel and, for a better phrase, a bit of a relationship with the clubs. You know what they do. You know, the control's there, so there's no point trying to force a change in there if there's literally not enough that's worth doing.
No, I mean it's pretty consistent there, isn't it?
Very, yeah.
Face track,
you've got bar the odd one there. If I don't almost, so sugarcoat. If you take the slightly iffy contacts out, we're starting to see, the bottom right numbers there. The tolerances of a couple of yards either side, which, for somebody who's not played since September. Not had much of a chance to play, getting back, that's only going to tighten up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about these clubs that's going to disrupt the consistency of that kind of distance. So it's going to mean you can stand, knowing what your yardage is with this, and that a solid hit's going to pitch it. Currently 142, 145. that'll push it up to 150 in no time at all.
Yeah,
but you can know it's going to go there rather than going, is it suddenly going to pop 148 when you think it's 144?
Yeah.
So iron wise, very good.
Happy. Well done.
We'll
Thank
have a
you.
look down the bottom end. So what actually makes sense? Well, one of the things down the bottom end, stated lofts are slightly different than measured lofts.
Yeah.
But we've got a little bit of differentiation between iron setup.
Yeah.
Into so the you've got a mid-weight graphite, so around a 70-gram graphite.
Yeah.
Into 115-gram steel. Back into a 72-gram graphite. Now this is testament to Sarah's short game, is that the highest loft wedge being 54 with a sole grind with that much bounce shows that she's rather good at controlling the club head. I wouldn't have a hope in hell of the control shots without much bounce.
I don't need anything more than that.
So, as demonstrated a couple of months back. So, but one of the elements down here is that there's just too many variables, really,
Yes.
in terms of getting that. This one in particular, we've seen how important the weighting and the balance is for you, and to go up into weight and generate some speed for some spin and control, that's just going to be a lot of work.
Yes.
So-
I don't hear it. There's a big gap between the wedge and this. Just too big a gap as well.
So I'll move this forward, and I'll put that light on just because we need a little bit more light in there. So for wedges, just because of the ball flight, we shift that forward. So set these bits. So I'm just going to measure get the exact loft on the pitch wedge. So I'm anticipating about 46. I think a lot of the distance gap, some of it's just going to be the amount of speed that you can generate whilst keeping contact with that 52 is going to be compromised. So actually the pitch is a little bit stronger. It's at 44. So that'll be something that's worth looking at, is just the gapping and lofts all the way through. So you've got a bit of a bigger gap there. Need to hit the edit button. Bit of a bigger gap there than we'd look to have. So got a 7-degree gap there, and then only a 3 3/4 degree gap. So, whether it's making sure that the loft graduations through to the pitch wedge at the bottom end of the irons just need to spread back a little bit, or whether we push the gap wedge on a little bit, that's really a case of looking at the distances and making sure that the gaps are consistent. What's probably worth us doing is getting a couple of markers with the wedge.
Yeah. Is that okay? They just
I can go further forward.
Further forward.
Right.
Yeah, that's about 10. Yeah, that's about here. But
Shift that right. We'll shift it forward so that obviously the screen's only so high.
I was going to say it doesn't come flying. Do you want me to go any further forward?
No,
do hit it high.
Yeah, you're right.
You
Unless
sure?
you're hitting a flop shot, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, so like with the, it may, so line-wise actually is just where that, there's no way of pointing, it's hard to see, so hitting straight at that left-hand flag.
Oh,
That's it,
okay.
yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Just doing a sort of nice, easy one.
I did say straight at that flag, didn't I?
Huh?
That's pretty good.
Is that all right?
So, I mean, like the iron swings, we can see how how easy it is for you to stay balanced and move the club around you.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we can see there. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll pass you your gap wedge, and we'll look at a couple of swings with that.
That's probably as hard as I'll swing that wedge.
Yeah.
I don't want to swing it any harder.
But that's also one of the things that, again, all good wedge players, There aren't many good wedge players I know that go flat out of the wedge swing.
No. I just feel, oh, it's just too heavy.
It's a lot of mass there. Yeah, and I think, you're looking at an upshift in weight of about 30 grams. So it's quite a lot. We'd often go maybe 10 grams, 10, 15 grams more.
Yeah.
But then going into the steel as well, you've got a balance within the shaft that's more towards the tip end as well. Yeah. So that one you can really see where, as you start down, you're having to heave out of the fit. Hence, it's gone left. It's gone just to flip it and catapult it over. So I'll get ahead with a slightly lighter shaft. We'll go back into a graphite, but just to see if we'll keep the loft around the 50 degree mark. And with this bit, I mean, always been a strength in the game. What's been your kind of any particular keys that you've always focused on over the years, or?
For me, it's tempo. Absolutely tempo. Yep. Just controlling it with the body really. As soon as you get handsy, especially under pressure, it's a no-no.
that would explain why it's not my flair but the bag. Yeah.
I know, I'm sure you'd like to get those hands into it, don't you?
Yeah, I'm better. Yeah, much better than I ever was. I think my understanding of the technique and things now, if I'd had the understanding of the technique now and with the use of launchments and things and the younger body I had back then, I would have got closer to making it worthwhile playing, but would have wasted more time because I was still never been good enough.
I think the other thing also is just hitting loads of shots with the same club, learning how to hit it a little bit low, high, medium, so you've got that really good feel for it, and I don't think you can, it's hard to coach that.
Yeah, from a coach's point of view, you get someone like Lowry who plays every shot under the sun with the one wedge, and then you get, Tiger will go through his wedges and, whether it's bunker shots, whether it's chipping. There's no absolute right or wrong, is there?
Of course there isn't, no.
But I think it's as a youngster playing, it's have a play around. It's kind of go and find out for yourself what creates what shot types and, learning.
Different lies, different, positions, I just throw a bunch of balls down and say, look, how are you going to play that? Look at the lie, think about what you need to do from a physics point of view. Don't kind of think about, from a technical point of view, think, where do I need to put my hand? Just feel it. As I said, steady Spanish hands. Can't go wrong with that. Right.
Yeah, rather impressive, wasn't it? Yeah. But I think that's he'd already come across everything he found on the course when he was practicing on a beach.
Well, this is exactly. I used to practice sitting over my parents' apple tree. I can see how close, play high jump. How close can I get? And lob it over. Oops. That felt quite light. But
so we've taken it down to, we're at 80 grams on this.
Well, it's just a few to get used to because...
Okay. Yeah, still that still looks a little bit like just have a little bit of a flip at it at the bottom.
Just a tad light, but I have been using slightly heavier ones, so.
Yeah, just as you get to the ball,
and I just flipped.
Just want to go that way.
Yeah, I felt I flipped with the hands to try and square that up.
I'll go into a lightweight steel. Yeah, I'd during lockdown, I'd in the garden with a golf ball, and of course you get a bit confident, don't you? And you decide that you're going to hit a shot back towards the house. And nearly, I went for a slightly kind of softer shot and caught it a bit thin, and thankfully it struck the leg of a chair and not the window that was behind it.
Oops, you'd still be waiting for a new window, I tell you, with availability.
I would, I wouldn't have been a popular boy.
No.
Well, I remember once as a junior practicing, there were some airflow balls, but then there were some foam balls with a hard plastic core. And technically I hadn't done anything wrong, but I decided to hit driver back across back towards the house, and my mother was on the phone in the living room as the
Uh-oh.
plastic core exited the foam outer and went through one of the windows. Yeah.
Oops. Oh dear. Bless.
So up a little bit, but we're still 15, 20 grams lighter than the shaft in your current 52, so it's still noticeably going to be a little bit less heavy.
That felt a little easier.
Yep. And better feel
Better,
for the
yeah,
club.
yeah. It wasn't. It was a bit of a pull-up swing, but it was okay. It was...
Still a little. It's interesting. It still kind of looks like you've got to work it a little bit. I'll need to see one more of that, but definitely closer.
Yeah.
That was nice. That one looked nice and connected. Yeah, so it was interesting. It's just got that little bit of drop off to the right again. Okay. Definitely the base weight's closer.
Yeah.
In that kind of 95 gram area. So say up from where the irons are, so you can use the weight for the shorter swings, but it's close. You don't do close though. So. I think that one you'd find would be quite good for the shorter shots where you're not having to put the speed in.
I wondered if it was just going to pop up a little bit.
Oh, with
that one, no?
Possibly if that face gets a little open, it could just work it under a fraction. Keep it around that 95 gram weight. I've got a composite and a steel, so both of these are a little bit higher balance than the Nippon that you've just been using.
So do you see anything at the show that was kind of earth-shatteringly different?
Equipment-wise, it's hard to now because
it's
the
so
heads
good, isn't it?
we've seen most of before we get there. It's great to speak to the technicians and the engineers and Chris Rochel from Mizuno and a few of the others like Strixon and Tio, who's one of the head vice president of design at Cobra, and actually get their take on what's changed and why. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
We see the odd shaft that's new or a bit different, but I think the problem is now, we were only saying when we were there, it's hard to. You used to go in and there were things that you could post an image of that no one had seen before, and with Instagram and internet and the likes of the Golf Spy guys and everyone's seeing the pictures on the RNA testing websites. There's nothing you can't. It's very, very hard to find anything really new. You can get some great information, some great conversations with the people who are behind the design. That's probably the best bit now. And building on relationships and developing that side of things. You might get to hear about a product or a connection that you wouldn't otherwise get. That's still really key. But I think the really exciting ones are. It's kind of hard to do that now with the amount of information that's already open. So, yeah, it was a good few days. It was a whistle-stop few days.
Yeah, it was.
Slightly different balance point on there.
That feels, even just the practice where I can feel the head a little bit more rather than just see where. Yeah,
that one looks like it's a little. To get it.
A little right, but it's okay.
Yeah, that one just looks, where you said you can feel the head a bit more, it just looks like the head's got a little bit, mind you, that one's actually squared up pretty well. Does that feel better to swing? Or does it feel like, again, you've got to work the bottom end a touch?
Not really. No, no. I just let's do one more. No.
No, actually, there's a little. These seem off their first one, so they've squared off a little bit better. Actually, that one's got a better spin profile as well. Okay, I'll put the graphite in. That actually did look a little bit cleaner. And for you, from being out in Orlando, what did you kind of got most out of there? Or?
I think I enjoyed the wedge session, the Titleist, Brad Faxon. That was very interesting. With the grooves, they made 125 round, and the difference between the spin was amazing. I used to think that one I was playing with was virtually, well, it wasn't illegal because I wouldn't have been playing it, but it virtually just was
concave.
I just like, yes, but this is actually probably close to it, but yeah, no, I thought that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that. It's just a case for me just to communicate with everybody. It's helped me out this year, I'll be honest with you, you know, last year, so it's important. Okay.
So wedge specific shaft, that's in that 90-95 gram area.
How was that one?
So that looked quite nice.
Yeah.
See, those two swings look like club got to ball without you having to do anything.
Yeah, those two felt pretty good actually.
Yeah, certainly in terms of cleanliness of strike, and the others you could see you were just manipulating it a little bit to put club on ball.
I'm not putting a lot into, what were those, about 78, 9 or something?
78.9 carry the last one, and 80 the one before.
There you go.
Yeah.
half.
I like that. What was it about? Yeah.
I've hit too many shots, that's why. See, that was a bit thin, but it's probably going to still be okay.
Yeah, 80. I mean, slightly lower launch, a little more spin, but I think for me, just how simple that looks into the back of the ball again.
Distance really similar, just on maybe 77.
80, 81.
Oh, was it 81?
I mean, what you'll find when you get to this sort of loft off a mat, because it gets marginally higher up the face, you get 1 or 2 yards more.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah.
But each of those, your ball speed has got a 1 mile an hour top to bottom.
Tad heavy, but
slightly stronger there. Just turn it over a touch, but again, it's only slightly 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah, I suppose all I'm looking for this 50. Okay.
I got that at 51, so yeah.
Same. 80 really is kind of max that I want from that.
I'll pop a little more head weight on that just to see, but I think what that shows is where with the steel, just where you're having to work it, just your balance and timing has been thrown off a little bit, and straight away back with those first few, that yardage consistency was fantastic. But looked like you didn't have to change what you were doing to deliver the club
to suit the club, yeah.
Just a fraction stronger for head weight. What would be good to see is just a slightly shorter swing with that as well.
Okay.
Just a little knockdown.
How far?
Of course, yeah.
Sorry, just my competitiveness.
If we're looking at that last one was 82, so let's say 69.
69. Okay, cool. Right. If I guess it within how many yards, who does the washing up, right?
about 69 yards, and I'll do the washing up.
Okay,
No.
okay, 69.
Get it within a
Okay.
couple of yards.
Oh, it might be a bit long.
Yeah, just a little left on. Actually came out a little bit lower spin. Let's see, ball speed. Yeah, that was still more like the 79 mark, but more of a pull for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 71 there. So yeah, slightly more interesting of those ones, a little bit more draw to it. Yeah, those ones are all just a little bit longer. What would be interesting on the partial swing is just to go to compare back into the steel. Because certainly on a fuller swing style, it makes sense that the graphite's going to work better for the fuller swing because it's closer to what you have in the rest of the bag. It's whether for the partial swings does going into that steel shaft just give it a little more control on that. Steel, and this is for that partial swing.
Oh.
That still looks like you've got to
hit that heavy.
Work that a little bit more.
Yeah, that feels.
Yeah, it's a bit cumbersome now. Yeah.
Yeah, that does. There's one more, but that just feels. Yeah.
It's a nice quality here.
How was that one?
That was nice, but that's someone with good ability making it really just a good adjustment.
It just feels, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it feels. It almost feels similar to the one I've been using.
Right.
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think what we're likely to see with this is then that the graphite shaft's just going to be where we kind of get a bit more continuity, consistency there. It's just then a case of with this, a couple of the shots were just a little bit to the left, and all you'd end up doing is just a little bit of getting used to a slightly different setup. I think I'll make sure that the lie's not doing any of that. I'll do a lie check on that one as well. Yeah, you can see that straight away.
It's square, yeah. It's easier to square up, isn't it?
Yeah, much quieter through the ball. That's nice.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, drag that. There's the odd one with that just drags the left. It's whether some of it's whether it's from a heavier weight point of view, just having it's what you've got to do with the heavier weight. But with that, your hands can stay really quiet and just leave the face on line rather than fetch at it. Yeah. Very nice. I'll check where that lies with this as well, because that's something with wedges. The more loft you've got, the more that lie has an effect on direction. So just want to make sure that's not having an impact. Then we'll have a little look at the grind on your higher loft.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine actually. She's an engineer. She's going to wants a new fit, so I'll arrange it with you.
I'll have to be on my metal for an engineer.
Scientist, sorry. Did I say? Yeah. Got one who's an engineer and one's a scientist.
Either way.
Yeah, exactly.
I think sometimes when you've got a mind as active as that, with golf sometimes a The non-active line, so that's nice and square. So the non-active line can sometimes be a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'll have a little look at the grind on the higher loft, because I think that's going to be a critical one. And so multitask miserably. So I think with that, losing that bit of dead weight, now even just picking that up, you'll feel, don't need to hit one with this, it's more just feeling that weight differential. Should feel fairly sturdy.
God, this feels like
club becomes an appropriate word.
Yeah.
But,
feels like I need to really go to the gym with this one.
Yeah.
God.
So don't feel the need to hit it if you don't.
No, that's all right. I just want to just feel the difference.
Yeah. So watching you swing, it very much gets to that point where you start down and then the club comes chasing afterwards. So, and that's where
that's quite hard work.
Bottoming at the same point, getting divot depth, face rotation. That just becomes variable because it becomes a kind of flexion rotation through. So, unless you work hard to get it out front, then it's hard to put the softness on the shot and all of those bits. So,
no, that's.
So what I'm intrigued to see is just where that strike point front to back comes on. It's just the only bit we now use the lie board for. But just to sit with a fairly neutral kind of pitching swing, like 50, 60 yards, something like that. But then also if you were to play a little higher, softer shot as well.
Okay.
So it's slightly counterintuitive off this surface.
All right, so speed.
Yeah, so I'll show this to camera afterwards because it's got that peak and the ridge there. It's taking all the contact on that point. So actually for soft turf, it's great.
Yeah.
And that's really where these ones were designed mainly for more of that US turf where it's overseeded and it just kind of disintegrates on contact to stop that leading edge digging in.
Do you want to put it on the camera?
I'll show them
do
after.
it at the end.
Do one where you do a little bit of a, if you've got a short sided, you just got to pop one up.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see with that you get your hands a little bit lower and get the club swinging underneath a bit more. But same point on the sole of the contact. So there's that bit of differential there. Getting that leading edge in, there with winter bunkers, a little bit more problematic. So
I don't play in the winter.
Sensible. So as you can see here, where that strike point is right on the ridge that's on the sole of this club. So with the cleaving ridge, I'll look this off. Is they've got, and it's been softened a little bit to the current series. It's definitely a softened version of, but they've always had that sort of profile where fairly kind of killed front half to create lots of bounce and then flattens off, but it creates that ridge, which for the UK turf is not visible. For UK turf, because the root structure is a little bit more solid, that can create a bit of a bounce, a little bit of a kick up. Or you get a bunker that's got shallow sand or firmer sand, it's just hard to get it underneath. So getting the sole shape a little bit softer will mean on tighter turf be able to get that leading edge in a little bit more, not having to play the shot a little flatter than you might want to in order to get the strike. I'll get a different sole shape to compare with. And happy with, in terms of sort of set the wedge loft side of things, happy keeping that sort of risky kind of 55, 56 degree loft and just using that to create a load of shots.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a 60, but I don't need it. Do you know what I mean? I don't need it.
Yeah.
It's not, so.
I'm going to get something with a little bit more camber to it. Let's see. Finding the right sole shape. something fairly different on the start with. So a lot of them, a lot of the wedges, because they're designed primarily around US turfs, tend to have a little bit more bounce on. So a lot of them do a lower bounce version, but yeah, even the Voki with the M grind has got quite a peak on the sole. So this one sits a little bit shallower.
Okay.
Let's see, particularly for that little higher, softer one.
Yeah, because I don't particularly want anything diggy because I'm a shallow. I, don't take any divot anyway, so I don't want anything that's going to be.
Yeah, you don't need to. So I've always been the opposite. Get an upslope this time of year.
You'd be like.
And the legs go a little bit. Yeah. Dinner plates come out. So let's see on that. So this might feel a little bit heavier, just because it's on the same shaft length as the other. Seeing that different marking on the sole. You should see a wider mark. Yeah, so still towards the back half, but rather than being one hard mark, I think we'll do the same thing after the next one. It's just spreading forwards a little bit more.
Yeah.
But on a relatively low bounce head, you're still using the back half of it.
Yeah.
So that leading edge is getting nowhere near digging.
No, exactly.
It's that same slightly higher, softer one as well. Yeah, it's important not to go too narrow because width can give you a little bit of protection.
Absolutely,
as well.
yeah, you want that. So.
It's a little bit of a less harsh contact. Even on that, there's still a bit of a mark just on the rib that they've got that runs through. So we've got more use of the sole, which is great. So again, in comparison, you can see the gain in width. Ooh. So on this one, the amount of extra width versus just a mark right on the peak on the Cleveland head. Is still getting more sole contact, which means more ability to use the turf to make the strike or the sand, to gauge the depth. So yeah, you really don't need a huge amount. And this is an 8 degree, but it's actually one that's pretty close to 8 degrees bounce.
Mine's 11.
It says 11, but
it's probably
realistically you're looking more like 20 because of how steep that front half is.
Okay.
It really peaks. So it's an effective 11 because it shallows off a little bit, but actually it's got a lot of angle. So again, the contrast, and we can see it here, but for the two there, it's a much steeper front half. So great if you get hands forward and dig.
Which is not. I'm not a diggy
but
doer.
not optimal for someone who's more of a picker.
Yeah.
So we really do that shallower shape across to give you the most sole possible. And that beveling, the kind of graduation of the back edge is a good thing because you work that underneath.
Yeah.
It works the head there.
So
the more you do that,
the
more that back edge sits proud, the more you've got to taper it off. So that's a very key element to it. If you're getting that in a 56 loft, you're probably going to find a little bit of, depending on the head that you want to go with in the end, but most heads we're going to have to do a certain amount of grinding with because very few, they've all got some kind of rib onto it. And I'd rather the smoother the sole shape the better because it can then skid rather than kick. So let's think, how do you do it naturally? Very few are going to do that naturally. Even they say the end grind on the Voki, you've got a rib on the bottom. We'd have to blend that and smooth that off. Let's think, are there any that stand out? Not that we stand out for that sole shape. We're going to have to create a bit of a sole shape no matter which wedge. Would it be something you'd be looking to stay with, for example, a ping wedge, having those through the rest of the bag?
I'm open to something that's going to work, that's going to help me,
Because that one you've got the width on the ping there, but again we'd have to do reasonable bit of graduating that back half. They've got the T grind that really kicks off. Let's see.
I should have bought my Cleveland. I met TC Cleveland, Roger's dad, in LA once.
Oh really?
I was practicing away, and I was just conscious of somebody was sitting on the bench, and then I started to feel, this isn't because it's only me. Anyway, I walked over and I said, oh hi, and he said, oh yes, he said, what can I look at your wedges? And I'm thinking, oh, I showed him. He said, oh yeah. He said, I'm Mr. Cleveland. I was like, It was incredible because that wedge I had, the one that was virtually illegal before I changed it, was literally the back was flat.
Right.
And I just could get it out of a ball washer. It was dead flat. I had it ground, it was just like flat.
Okay. So
so
nice
similar. That was like 25 years
get
ago.
that sole
Yeah,
shape down
exactly.
so that you can just make that skid through.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another head I'm going to grab from the far end. Got a bit of graduation. Yeah, because of the nature of it, there's no real standout grind. You'd probably look at, so this one is one that Mr. Cleveland's son is designing, the jaws raw. That's got a little bit of a beveling on the front edge, which I'll hold there, we can talk about in a bit. Which that stops the ears getting too sharp, and then it's got that back edge. However, we'd still need to roll that down a little bit. And the other, actually, if you go into the Vokey, the M grind, that's got that back edge progression there, but we'd need to blend that in. So actually, the M grind Vokey probably means the least amount of fiddling around and grinding.
Okay, well let's.
Because we've got the back edge where we want it, we just need to blend in that, take out that peak and just smooth it so that doesn't sit too brown. So I'll pop that one on. And it's really about, if there's...
That's interesting, isn't it?
The gap wedge is a simple one.
Yeah.
They all do a pretty low bounce, nice as neutral 8 to 10 degree bounce. The 56 is the one where you're the rare beast who really doesn't need that bounce to protect you from going deep on it. So
I always used to use a 56 for years, and they just changed that. I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago or something. So
this particular one, just hosel lengths change a little bit. This will feel just that little bit heavier. So what we'll see from the strike point of this, it'll be on that back ridge. But because the back edge is graduated off, it actually means, realistically, just blending that down. Because the back part's already where we want it to be. But that'll also, from a chipping point of view, it'll sit down a little bit.
Right, won't just sit with that conical top, isn't it?
Yeah, because the hill, and you might find on a tight turf, it doesn't quite seat itself.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's where we thought, just on the back edge near that rib. First strike point's getting near the centre of the sole, which is good. If we blend that in, then it's going to take the strike through the back half a little bit. So you're never going to get the strike near the leading edge unless we literally take it down to a couple of degrees of bounce. So it's really making sure that the middle to back progression suits and lets you work that back edge underneath. So again, onto that same spot. So most of the time we're trying to kind of get the strike back on the sole a little bit further. For you, it's actually drawing it forwards a little bit more. And the only way you can do that, so it's that same point again, because there's that rib that runs through. Designed more to protect against softer conditions. The more we can blend that across, the more that strike, we roll it and tighten up the back edge, it'll pull that strike point forwards and use more of the sole. So it's.
That looks like the one then.
It's we just got to get that base. This stated 8 degree bounce. They all, it's effective 8 degrees. Actual bounce more sort of. Actually, it's not a lot more, maybe 10, 12, but by blending that in and making that a gradual progression rather than there and over, that's just going to make it that bit more versatile and so particularly that's going to get you using the sole, and you'll get much more consistent divot depth and chipping and things. Be able
I
to
should
sit
take
a
a
lot
picture
tighter.
of that one, shouldn't I? The different ones. Which one was my one?
So that one's your one.
Yeah. That one.
So essentially, irons and wedges. I mean, it's a bit of a so much. Actually, the other thing once we've done that, it actually grip type and size. But from a kind of hardware point of view, it's really wedges. It'll be a little bit of just making sure you've got the lofts and the distances in the right place with irons and that progression. But it's really about getting that shaft weight down from the 115 gram you got in your 52.
Just can't.
Just too heavy.
It's just I don't use it actually anymore. I just don't use it. It's just too heavy.
So get it down to that just over 90 gram weight here. So a bit of a progression on the irons, but not so much that you're forced to have to heave at it. But enough weight to use for the kind of knockdown shots. Base lofts, just to even them out, kind of a 50, 55, 56, just give it a little bit more versatility, but it's getting that sole shallowed off. That's the really critical bit. That's going to be, there's some shots that you'd have thought, I always used to be able to do that.
But I can't,
I haven't been able to do that for a while. They'll come flooding back. And the Vokey just gives that.
Perfect.
Gives that a little bit
Let's
more.
do that then. Sounds good.
Grip type and size is the only other element here. So,
well, the funny thing is, because I had this surgery, didn't I? And I had to have slightly
bigger in,
Slightly. I used to get the CP2 Pros, but I actually kind of gone off those a bit.
Right.
They're a bit too soft.
So you can say they've got that kind of core, but then the soft
I mean, I don't mind the MC. These, let's look over here.
Have you always played, historically played, I don't know if the camera can follow, have you always historically played corded grips? Prefer the
No, not really. I mean, I literally just put them on. I mean, I have gone off those a little bit.
Yeah, just feel there's a bit of give in the
They're
top
not very good in the damp, and I'm not really. They're not very. Those
so
are
you
horrendous.
prefer something that has a bit of bite to it.
I mean.
Tread. I mean, there are some that's a little bit different. Lankin have done the Sona series. Have got. It's like they did a grip with Michelin years back. So if you don't want the grip to get hard but want a little bit of tread, that gives a little bit of tread pattern to it. Having said that, the multi-compounds, the cording in the top and the
I've always been a golf
top,
pride girl.
There's lots of purchase there without being harsh in the bottom hand.
Yeah.
So, whether it's a case of building it out to fit your hands.
Yeah.
They've got the into that bottom hand. If you've got the +4 that gets a little bit thicker in the bottom hand but retains all the other characteristics.
Yeah.
I'll have a little look because
I'll probably just stick with.
your kind of hand size.
It's me. Probably got a mid. I think they're mid-size. I've got on there, haven't they?
Yeah, so it's looking kind of something in the bottom hand. It's that length there.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at with Sarah is actually kind of the length of sort of finger and into actually the gap between the base of your thumb and that joint there.
Yeah.
The length there, the longer that bit is, essentially the more finger and that bit to get around the grip.
Yeah.
So you tend to find if you've got a long index finger, or certainly a longer
Bit there.
distance between your first joint on your index finger
And your thumb, yeah.
and the base of the thumb, then you'd like to need to reduce the tapering because there's just more of that thing you've got to get around the grip.
I have got a little bit of arthritis coming just to add to the issues.
Okay,
So
and is that a grip pressure side of things? Does that affect that?
Not really. I just think I just want something that's I'm not having to.
Because if I give you that's the standard size
Yeah,
you've got on your
that's-
irons at the moment, and how it sits in that trigger finger there
Yeah.
versus the +4 version. That should
I had
be
that
not having
feels.
to hold on.
That's easy. That one's easier.
So
Yeah,
same
for it.
in terms of the weight of grips, like a marginally different pattern, but that's going to mean particularly
I'm
in
not
that
worried
if you're
about
getting a bit of
that.
arthritis into that finger,
Yeah.
then you're not going to have to close it down and put as
Yeah,
much
no, especially
pressure
with that, it's just
Let's see I'm going to see that fit in your left hand. Yeah, you could go an extra tape at the top, so that's the equivalent of 4 extra on the bottom.
okay.
So that's reducing that tapering, which is where it
Yeah.
works for your right hand better. But you could go a little bit larger
Just
there.
a
There's just a little bit of
little
excess
bit of-
contact
yeah.
just to fill it out a
Yeah.
fraction more.
Okay.
But that gives you all the purchase and all the tread you get off of this.
Yeah,
Even
this is
something naturally
this
that's
was mine's a bit hard. It's like
Yeah.
it's quite hard on it.
I mean, they've also. I mean, if you find the multi-compounds a little bit harder, then you can. They do that +4 in a tall velvet, but again, a little less purchase. So just a traditional standard rubber with no real tread to it. But the sizing's going to feel a little more comfortable. It kind of sits halfway between. It's got a little bit of softness like the CB2s, but that's definitely got more tread. And that one's a little bit worn as well.
Which, that one?
That one.
Is
it's
it?
just starting to, we need to
Yeah.
replace them soon. That it's going to feel more like the top hand of that. That'll take a little bit more sting out of it, just because it hasn't got the cord in the top hand.
Yeah. I don't mind that, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the sizing's going to make a good difference.
Yeah.
I think that's not having to
Yeah, I'm
hang
not
on
too
quite so
worried
hard.
about having.
We'll let that right hand
No,
stay a
that
bit softer.
tall velvet's great.
And that on the top as a reference marker. Or flip it around and just have them in
No.
brand.
I still.
Yeah. And they've been, it's a good grip being around.
Oh, I
being
know.
around
I've
forever.
used. I know.
But definitely that reduced tapering.
Yeah, I wouldn't use anything else. I mean,
That's going to
love
make quite a
tall
good
velvet
difference
pride.
into that right hand.
Yeah.
So it's fine tuned. Slight, the realistically grips for the sizing on the irons, but just make sure it's the loft gaps stay consistent. But it's bringing the wedges one in line with one another, but more in line with the irons. Better continuity through, and the grind on the 56 in particular.
Yeah, I knew the wedges were a little bit out, so that's all good.
Yeah, so
Brilliant.
Back to the old up and down queen. Yeah.
Well, you've done your work. It's down to me now.
So hope everyone's enjoyed watching. We're going to do woods in another session, so we'll come back and do those another time. But look forward to getting to that a bit.
You're a star. Thank you.
Good to see you.
I'm still not giving you any more shots.
I know, I'm too proud to take
You're
them.
giving me them.
Too proud to take them.
Thank you very much. Thank you.